This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Everybody's talking about it. The Millennium Wrestling Federation returns to the Braintree Moose Lodge in Braintree, Massachusetts, Saturday night, May the 20th for MWF Zero Tolerance. And we're going to be joined that night by the one and only Al Snow. Al Snow is joining us via telephone right now. How are you, Al?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to get there.
It's been a while since you've been in the Boston area. You've been busy not only with your WWE duties, but out in Ohio Valley Wrestling. Tell us a little bit what's been going on out there.
Yes, I'm the head of the developmental program out there in the Ohio Valley Wrestling. I train all of the developmental talent for WWE and still perform quite a bit myself on the independents.
Unbelievable. As you said, you oversee who the world is going to be seeing in a few years once they hone their skills. Who are some of the big superstars that you expect to come out of Ohio Valley in the near future?
There are too many to name. I mean, I always get asked that question, and I always feel like I can never do the answer proper justice because I always feel like I'll miss a name or somebody will misunderstand and think that I'm showing favoritism when really every one of those kids has tremendous potential, and I look for a lot of them to be major stars in wrestling.
Well, Ohio Valley has sent out some of the best over the past few years, and if any indication, that should continue and for a long time.
Oh yeah. Ohio Valley, things are going absolutely fantastic. We've got Paul Heyman down there and Danny Davis, and between Danny Davis and Paul Heyman and myself, we have a synergy. We work very well together, and we put out a great TV product, and it's a great place for the guys to get their proper experience to be able to move up to the next level.
Now, Al Snow, a lot of people, of course, most people would probably remember you from WWE and even your time in ECW when the Head came about. But you had quite a career before you even went to WWE for the first time in 1995. Why don't you tell the fans a little bit about that?
I had been wrestling for probably a good almost 14 years before I went to the WWE the first time. And I had been in Smoky Mountain just prior to that with Glenn Jacobs, who's known as Kane nowadays. And we were Smoky Mountain Heavy Tag Team Champions. And then prior to that, I pretty much, I was in ECW right prior to that, the initial incarnation of ECW. And then and before that, I was all over the place. Worked for the Crockett's, you name it. I was, never in one place for any length of time, but definitely kept myself busy. You
were one of the last of the guys that actually went out and worked the territories.
Yes. And, it was really a great time. It was a great way to get experience and to have experiences that you can get nowhere else but other than the wrestling business.
Well, before you went on to worldwide fandom in WWE as Al Snow, you had a couple of different personas. You were, I believe, Avatar. You were also Leif Cassidy. What did you think about those different characters that you played before you went on to ECW for a short period of time?
It was a frustrating period in my career because I didn't quite understand that every time that you're given a time out there in the ring, that you're given an opportunity. And, I would do like a lot of wrestlers, and I would point the finger at everybody else but at the right person, and that was at myself. And with time and distance, I've been able to look back on my career and realize just how many mistakes I made that cut my own nose off to spite my own face. And, simply forgetting what I was really there truly to do was not to have a good match. I was there to have a match that sold tickets. And, I kind of lost sight of that at times.
Well, in the summer of 1997, just before you headed off to ECW, you did a series of matches on Shotgun Saturday Night, and you started to begin to develop almost the persona that you'd take on in ECW, where you'd become angry with yourself after you lost, and you'd talk to yourself. Did you expect to take on the Head in ECW, or was that something that came unexpectedly once you arrived?
That was something that, you know, kind of came along once I was in ECW. I was sitting backstage one night at the, I had just worked with the Grand Sasuke in Philadelphia there at the ECW Arena, which is also, the other half of it is where they make the floats for the Mummers Day Parade in Philadelphia. And they wanted to take some pictures for a Japanese magazine, and I picked up a styrofoam head, and I thought, you know, I had been trying to do different things at that time to show that I had had a nervous breakdown, and I thought, I'm going to carry this to the ring and talk to it as if it's a real person. And, you know, initially, Paul Heyman hated it.
Really?
Always tell me, I hate your manager, but he would, the one thing Paul did was he allowed me to do it. He allowed me to continue to do it. Never stopped me. And then it got over to the point where he couldn't ignore it.
Did you ever expect the head to become as popular as it was and become such a part of your routine?
No, not at all. And you know, to this day, I can't explain it. It's just one of those things that just seemed to hit a nerve at the right time, at the right place, and thank God. You know, thank God for head, because you know, if it hadn't been for a plastic head, I don't know where my career would have been.
That's what I was just going to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. Right place at the right time. That's just a gimmick. As you said, it clicked at the right period of time with the right fans, and it was pure magic. Once you heard that Prodigy theme song and you came out with the lights blazing back and forth, it was just what a reaction you would get before the match even began.
I knew I went there with a purpose, because I had, with my experience in WWF at the time, I had forgotten what my purpose was, and then I remembered my purpose, and I went there with a sole purpose of getting myself over, and getting myself over to the point to sell tickets. And, you know, and I did. And then unfortunately when I came back to, at that time, WWF, I kind of lost sight of that again. You know, I kind of got caught up in things and forgot what it was that I was really supposed to be there doing.
Well, once you were back, the job squad and the head became merchandising machines for them, and you were involved in just about every capacity one could find, whether it be the tag team ranks when you did the run with Mick Foley. You had a variety of different managers. You had head. It was was it a moose head or a deer head? Pierre was his name?
Yeah, Pierre. Yeah, and then Pepper the dog. And you know, honestly, even though you know, my career in WWF has probably not been the most storied as far as success, but as far as people who have been at, you know, the amount of TV time, I was on TV every single week doing something to some degree or another.
Right, and at times twice a week when SmackDown started.
Yes, and I was there for a period of 10 years.
Right. What was it, 1995 you debuted the first time, right?
Yes, and then was there for 2 years, and then went away for a year to ECW, then came back again and was there, you know, for the rest of my career.
Well, I have a feeling Al Snow and Head, you know, that could be the Hacksaw Jim Duggan of this millennium. That'll be a character. People remember that forever. It's something that'll stick with you. Like George Steele now, he's 70, and the fans still go, I shouldn't say that, he's probably somewhere close to that. The fans still love him, the fans still remember, and I think the same could be said for that, as a lot of the guys from the boom era of the Attitude in the late 90s will be from WWF.
Well, it's amazing, you know, partly because of WWE and my exposure on there, and then the Tough Enough series and MTV. To this day, it's amazing how many people and how many different places recognize me and come up and talk to me.
Now, what was it like to go from, as you said, wrestling once or twice a week for WWF at the time, to go off and be part of the first Tough Enough series in 2001 with the co-trainers you had of Tori, Jackie, and Taz for the first season?
You know, it was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed every time I went and did Tough Enough. I truly, sincerely enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I had a great time. You know, I made great relationships, and that still endure to this day. And it was really a high point in my career.
And again, there were 3 seasons on MTV, and then the final one was on UPN SmackDown back in, I believe, the fall of 2004. Will we be seeing any of Tough Enough again in the future, or do you think that's pretty much a dead issue for now?
I think right now it's a dead issue.
Right now, WWE not only has, as we mentioned, Ohio Valley, but they also have the Deep South territory down in Georgia, where they're just continually, constantly trying to produce new superstars to see on national television, where we just had WrestleMania this past weekend, well, at the time this interview is being taped. More new talent debuted this past week. What do you think the future for the developmental is? Do you think we'll be seeing more developmental territories continue to pop up, or will it stick to maybe just 2?
I think that if they're smart, they'll invest the time and the money and the effort into more developmental programs. Wrestling is an art, and it's a skill that takes years to learn and to really, truly polish and get guys ready to understand their position in the business, that they're there to draw money. Not to have just a good match, but to draw money.
Right.
And the more that they have these developmental programs, the better off they are, because without new talent, there's no business. And without no business, there's no WWE.
Exactly. I remember a few years ago, I believe there was as many as 3 or 4 at certain periods of time. And I think it almost took the business back a little bit, because they didn't have as much variety to draw from when they were looking for new talent to bring up to the big time.
Well, I think that they definitely need, I personally believe, and not because I'm involved with it, but I personally believe that that's where they need to invest the majority of their money, is in the creation of new talent. Because, the wrestlers are a product, and every product, no matter how tremendously over it is, it has a certain shelf life. And after a certain period of time, the fans are going to be wanting new talent, or new matchups, or new faces, and new direction. And where are you going to get them?
Right.
You're going to have to find those people out there on the independents that have that potential, or have that look, and then take them into the developmental league and groom them. And unfortunately, the business has changed to where it's accelerated to where a lot of these guys aren't going to have proper time to get the true experience that they're going to need before they go up. And so you've got to try and condense all that in short amount of time as possible before they're called up to be put in a position of drawing money.
Do you think it would be better for the guys to maybe split their time before they go to WWE? Maybe once they feel they're ready from either Deep South or Ohio Valley, maybe to send them to the other territory for another 6 months to hone their skills with different people in a different part of the country, to maybe learn to work a little bit of a different way?
Absolutely, because the more, back in the day, every territory had a different style and a different philosophy. And the more you knew how to adjust and adapt and get yourself over in each territory, the more you truly learned how to really work. And ultimately, the one thing that's going to benefit the most is the business.
Absolutely, without 100%. That's where the business is going. It's always going in the future. It doesn't look back.
No. It just keeps evolving.
Well, as we
I tell my students, and I tell people on the independents all the time, from the carnival days till now, the wheel is still round. You're not reinventing the wheel. WWE might have a wheel with, giant rubber tires, with 22-inch tires, with chrome rims, with spinners, with diamond-encrusted blades, and, as much bling as possible, but the thing's still round. It's still wrestling. And, the basic precepts that have been there since the carnival days are still there. And if they stop being there, if people stop passing along that information to the next generation, then wrestling will change into something else, and it will cease to exist.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, as they say. I'll tell you, everyone's talking about it. The big event, Saturday night, May the 20th. Al Snow makes his MWF in-ring debut at Zero Tolerance. I know everyone in the MWF is looking forward to seeing you in action, Al.
I'm looking forward to getting there. I know that you guys have a very professional show. It's family entertainment. Parents can bring their kids out and have a good time, and I am so looking forward to being a part of it.
I know that Paul Bearer is not happy that you will be making your way out on May 20th. I know he has his members of his evil trifecta perhaps keeping an eye on you on May 20th.
Well, Paul Bearer is always unhappy, Let's face it, if you were Paul Bearer, would you be happy?
Well, I'll bite my tongue on that one, as I know what I'll listen to at a later time, but you're 100% right about that. But like you said, it's going to be a great night of action from anyone from the ages of 8 to 80, and we're going to be trying to help out the Don Ross School in Braintree. VIP ticket holders will not only see a great night of action, But an hour before the doors open to the general public, they'll be able to participate in a VIP question and answer session with Al Snow, where they can ask you anything they want.
Absolutely. The only dumb question is the one they're afraid to ask.
Exactly. Ultra interactive at its best. You'll also be available to sign autographs and pose for pictures with the fans. That's what we like in the MWF, a nice intimate setting where the fans can really experience more than where they could at maybe a Major League WWE show, where it's so big they don't have a chance to really interact with a lot of the guys.
It's a lot more personal on this level, and I really enjoy that. And, I'll be glad to give life advice, advice from Uncle Al. So.
Oh, that could make for a segment in and of itself. That'll be great.
Yes, it could.
To say the least. Al Snow, we're running out of time in this segment as we move on here on the May edition of MWF Ultra. We look forward to your MWF in-ring debut May 20th. Hopefully it'll be the first of many as time goes on. Any final thoughts for the fans here in the Boston area?
I hope that everybody shows up May 20th. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. And when you come in for the question and answer, please have some really good questions. Don't be afraid to ask them. I'll be glad to answer them.
Unbelievable. Al Snow, thank you for joining us here on Ultra. We will be back after this brief timeout.